my gosh.
We're about to fix this Model 3. Now, it was in a collision, it was T-boned on the driver's side. The new, and yes, new because we already got the bumper, it just needs to be realigned. The bumper is new, but we have RCM faults, which is restraint control management system faults. We have incompatible parts, we have to go into service mode. We have a few upgrades we need to make, and we gotta get this done really fast. So join me while we do this in fixing and upgrading this Tesla Model 3. We don't just have one Tesla, we have two Teslas. Actually, we have more than two Teslas, but we're gonna focus on these two Teslas. The white one is the one we are fixing, and this one is the one we're going to be ripping parts out of. Now, stay tuned because we're gonna fix this one also, so it sounds counterintuitive to be taking stuff away from it, but the white one needs to be done ASAP, and there's a lot of compatible parts.
The battery is dead. We need to move the seat forward to get this out. We're gonna have to jump it. Jumping it will give us 12-volt power, which will allow us to move the electronics because currently, as you can see, they're dead. And then we're gonna want to take the center console out and bring it to the next one.
It's supposed to be off.
All right, those are all removed.
Important step right here.
Oh, that little bus thing. And this is the new console that we're going to replace the old one with. Make sure you take these. You have a whole hole inside here. Honestly, this might be more convenient for some things.
So on your original one, what you want to get is the key card reader. There's a clip right here. Push in thing, like what is it?
I call them clips.
Yeah, I call them
Connectors.
clips. Like the little tab thing. With the old, hit the vacuum it a little bit.
This is pretty gross. So we're going to smack this with some air. Clean this out a little bit, not too much, because we need this car done ASAP. But normally we would remove everything and clean everything individually. But this car needs to be done. That can happen later for this specific build. Much better. It's a pretty good temporary fix. Looking at the two side by side, the main difference is going to be this upper portion. So you can see this one has wireless charging for your cell phone. It also has a sliding drawer where this one is lacking. They're both the same in terms of cup holders and rear space. If we remove this, they're basically identical. This one, to open the storage space here, it's a press down and a press down. And then you could flip this up. It's not very elegant, but there is space down here. However, don't be mistaken because there is space in here as well, plenty of it. Another key difference is this uses USB-A and USB-C. USB-A is an old port. Don't really care for that. This one has two USB-Cs right here. So we've encountered a possible problem, and it's that the RCM or restraint control module might be bad, and we need to address that because that will always have an alert right here. It won't allow autopilot to go on, a bunch of other issues. So we need to check that out before we replace the center console. What is kind of backwards though is that we are gonna have to put the center console in to see if it really is bad, because the car is in kind of like a safe mode. And that's because the chip that scans your driver card when you tap and swipe it around to go into drive is not installed. That needs to be installed. So you might be wondering, well, why don't we just use the one that comes with this center console? The reason why we can't use that to tap our card is because each one of these is keyed with the car. So that old one needs to go on this new one. We need to pry this off so that we can install that onto here.
There's a higher chance of breaking it when you take it from the back than the front, but...
So to not break it, you'll just carefully slide your little pick tool under there, push it up. This is the only way to remove it, because it looks like it's under the silver trim. You can't remove the silver trim and then... All you're gonna need is these two screws. There's also a clip back here, so just be wary of that. And from there, you're gonna want to take this one. This was the previous one. We're going to unscrew these and then mount this module to here. When you do pull this out though, be wary of this connector, as you don't want to just yank on this. Back here, there is a little tab where you can just pull it down and pull it out for it to unclip itself. Now again, we're just swapping the modules.
You know what's going to be funny? If the wiring harness is different.
But it's not, right?
I hope not. Oh. 27 codes. Service menu. And that is how you check if your restraint control module is bad.
So I have a fault with the RCM. That means you have to replace the actual module. So we're gonna go back to the other salvaged Tesla and try to pull the RCM module off of that, get it into this one, and see if that works. It might not work, but it might also work. Hopefully it works. Pulls out.
Second tab.
Once those tabs are out and once those connectors are out, we can just unbolt these.
It's fixed.
Okay, so that means it's good.
It should be good.
Had some writing on it indicating that it was fixed. It was declared fixed, meaning that it should work. And we're gonna test that now. All right, so we gotta back this out to replace our current one. It's gonna be the same process. Pro tip, before you plug anything in, if you don't wanna lose all your airbags, make sure this is mounted and secure because you don't want all your airbags going off. Make sure you don't slam it into the screen. And from there, that's plugged in. Again, the RCS, that's remounted. Put the key on and see what's good. Ah, that's perfect. That's exactly what we wanted. those beep beeps are the sound of success.
Weight,
Mismatch?
VIN mismatch. In that case, what we need to do, software reinstall.
So what does this do?
Pretty much configures all the components installed to the car, kind of like a resets memory. Like if you put a new headlight, it won't work.
Wow.
You need to do software reinstall. Same thing with this, that could be the issue.
After we do that update, we can see that we have an error that the front left impact sensor has failed the initialization. So there's a fault with the front left impact sensor. And that's the same one we had previously though, right?
Yeah.
We also still have the configuration mismatch. So that's our second try and still didn't update. To unlock the gateway, which is the issue we were having, you
hold brakes and then you press the right turn signal and you hold it. And then it's gonna tell you right here, gateway unlocking. You need to do that for 10 seconds and then it unlocks it. You have
this much time. So unlocking it possibly will allow us to reconfigure everything. Okay, so first step, we're trying to update. Second step, headlights. Third step would be we have to find a whole new module for this. Hopefully it doesn't come to that. Okay, so even with the gateway unlocked, that did not work, and we're still having restraint issues. Sweet snap.
And make sure that the lines gap matches, because sometimes it doesn't fully clip in, and you will assemble it this way, and it can still.
Oh my gosh!
It matches, so you gotta kind of lift it a little bit and slide it down. So you gotta like seat it.
From there, that's connected, and then reconnect the data bus back there.
And then the final part.
Make sure that's plugged in first. And then you can go ahead clipping one of the harder things in. There we go. Now all we have to do is clean it up a little bit, and that is your new central console installed.
It's just wobbling. It's supposed to be mounted, so this sensor it doesn't like.
And that's the impact sensor. Yeah. So the front left impact sensor, it's literally just holding on here.
This one was weird, the way that it was shaped, and we couldn't fit it to the front crash bar of the car, which is where it's supposed to be mounted. There's a little tab that goes into a little slot, and then you're supposed to have a hole next to it to screw it in. Well, ours was not that. It looked a little bit wonky, and it just wouldn't fit. So what we had to do is break off the tab and just screw it to the crash frame. This is pretty fine because, I mean, it's not really gonna move. We even went to the other scrapped 3. We went to the left side of this car to compare it, and it was just different. So, had to break off the tab and then just screw it to the crash bar. No big deal though. Let's move on.
Well, that's the way the factory mounted it, right? So, I mean, it kind of has to work, no?
But the bolt is right here. This is where the bolt's supposed to go.
For the bumper? Or for
No, for the impact sensor. So it's supposed to align where the bolt location and the tab formation fits. But it doesn't. If the tab fits, then the bolt, I can't secure it.
what glue is for, right?
I would rather break the tab off, but secure it safely on the bolt. Even with the bracket
Oh, yes.
and the bolt, all one. Good stuff.
Right. It's mounted.
Let's wire this trunk up now, shall we? The wires that are going from the car to the actual trunk area that lifts up, you need to make sure these wires go before, and I mean before the hinge. Otherwise, it might get sliced, so just be aware of that. It should be before the hinge, and then it's gonna go up. It'll clip into place, and then you can put all of the wires through the small hole in the side, fix the grommet in place, pull the wires through. To make sure everything fits properly, the wire should come out through the big hole, and then you're just gonna start wiring things in. So each tail light, of course, the trunk latch, and then just clipping the wire so that it doesn't hang and it kind of has a channel to follow. From there, we need to put back the plastic cowl that hides all of this wiring, and then we need to wire the trunk push button open, as well as the speaker for when the trunk opens. Oh yeah, and don't forget to connect this guy.
Did not suck in. Oh, the weather seal.
That'll do it.
Smart. Nice.
All that's left to do is put in these rubber little shock things. They kind of screw into the trunk, and if your trunk is not level, these are what you adjust. It prevents the trunk from slamming down. You need these, so make sure these are on.
The next thing we're gonna do is replace the bumper. So when it got into a collision on the driver's side, all these panels needed to be replaced. And in replacing them, we had to pull this quarter panel up a little bit. And in doing so, we can only fit the bumper that came with this Tesla on this Tesla. We can't use a different bumper. So what we're doing currently is we're gonna take this bumper, which has all of the sensors, the whole wiring harness, and we can't reuse this. Normally we could, but since we have a weird body, we need to put it on this one. And then this one can go back onto this one.
We have to remove all the sensors. They're basically just clipped into place. Everything here is just clipped, so you're gonna be pulling them from their resting places. Sounds like you're digging up grave sites, which, since this is a dead bumper and we're taking the sensors out of it, kind of is. There's 2-ish tabs holding it in. Just spread those apart and then gently pull the sensor out. There is a rubber gasket. Make sure you get that too, and don't lose that. Now we need to take out the reflectors because our bumper that we're gonna use didn't have any. So we're going to reuse these, and this is a great time to mention if you don't want them reflective and if you want them to light up and go based off your turn signal. Super cool. Check out the video that I'll have hopefully in the card that should be displaying now. It's super easy and pretty affordable upgrade to make a huge difference to the way the back of your car looks. We're gonna have to take a few bolts out holding the black piece to the bumper, the very lower part, because we don't have that on the previous bumper. There's these bolts, and then there's these tabs that you're gonna have to pop out with a little pry tool.
Yeah, once you get to halfway, start on the other side.
Okay.
Sometimes if you keep going, you back it here. Too slow. You just got to make sure that all the teeth are lined up in good position, because you'll smack it in and one of them is sticking out. People.
Now it's time to do the wiring harness. So when you get this, make sure you have it the right way, because only one side is going to plug into the car. For ours, if you look at it from the back, the right side is going to be what's plugged in to the car. So you want to have the wiring harness on the right. But the way we have the bumper oriented, like to the camera, it's the right of me, but to the left of him. So just make sure you have everything lined up correctly, because it would really suck if you just plug in this entire wiring harness, or you mount the entire wiring harness, and you go to plug it in, and you find the plugs on the wrong side.
Untwisted.
You don't like tension. Here's a perfect example of what it looks like when you crimp it, and then you take it out again, fix the rubber piece, and then try again. There.
Oh yeah, it's not out all the way. There we go.
So the new models will have this little tab
For the wiring.
to run it under there.
So this is when we realized part of the plastic that's supposed to secure this bumper to the car was kind of broken. And no, it was broken. And we're going to fix this with really strong glue. Once the glue was set, it took about 4 hours-ish to dry. We should have let it dry more, but we had to finish the car. So, I mean, it was kind of, it wasn't really dry. But when we secured it, we were hoping it would dry in place because it didn't look too bad. Almost done with the rear. Let's mount this bumper. Now, make sure you don't have any pinwheels in the way. We had one, and it took us a long time to figure out of pushing against the bumper and taking it off. But anyways, just make sure there's no bolts in your way, no clips in your way. If you want the bumper to mount on, you're going to basically clip it into place as best you can. Some parts might come unclipped. You're just going to want to keep pushing them in. Maybe bolt some places down and then go to other places, bolt those down. There's going to be a bunch of bolts. 2 where the tail lights go, a few underneath, as well as on the side in the wheel well. Now you want to also make sure your shield underneath that protects the motors and stuff is connected to the bumper. So I think the shield has to be mounted before. I mean, it doesn't really matter. Our shield was mounted before and we just connected it in. It might be easier to mount it after. I'm not 100% sure, but it can be done either way. And once your shield is in, you should be able to bolt it in. There's 2 little flaps that hang down. I believe 2 bolts go into there. Just pay attention to all your bolt holes. Now's the time for the taillights. Pretty straightforward. There's only 2 bolts, as well as the big plastic bolt screw thing that's on the top. Pretty much it. That's all that's holding these in. So So you're gonna do that for both sides, and then they're back on. Lastly, make sure the weather stripping is where it should be when you're done with all this. So a little bit outside of the trunk and in the correct groove. So now we have our fender, we need to put it on the car, because might as well. There's these little guide tabs in the back, that's what you're gonna want to pay attention to. And so we kind of fit them in there. There's one bolt, once you get all aligned, that will go in the bottom, and there's a few that go along the top. Get the bottom one in first, it's the hardest, and it makes sure everything down below is flush.
So one here that's kind of like a guider, and then one here that's bolts in straight to it, and then they are both supposed to be seated properly. So this guy, he goes in front of this tab right here. This guy goes between the bolt and the mount, which is the opening right here. And then there's one at the bottom, which is also like a slide through type of deal. And if you don't get them correctly, it will not match. Align your gaps.
So after you do those back ones, like I said, just do the ones on the top, and then don't forget about this one right above the wheel.
Better than factory.
Better than factory. And I think his hood is warped.
Oh, it looks like it. Yeah, you're right.
By the looks of it, this could use some tightening.
Yeah, so that fender was not supposed to come off. The place we bought it from, well, they just slapped it on. No bolts needed, but we needed the bolts. So, like the good engineers we are, we put the correct bolts.
Small casualty. Ooh.
When you take the headlights off, there's supposed to be this insert,
Okay.
which is usually gets left on the fender. That's like your guide to sliding in the headlight properly.
Perfect. And then you have your 10 mils with the washer.
Now one here, and then one here.
2 10 mils per headlight.
This one's damaged.
Ooh, what is that from?
First, the hole caught on fire.
Oh, so that's all
It
like
melted a little bit.
plastic melting.
It's still.
It'll still turn on. It's gonna be one of our cars, so it doesn't have to be perfect. No.
Oh!
No way! Oh my god! The thing that probably wouldn't work actually worked. Turn signals. Oh my god.
Okay. It is telling me that the right headlamp control module is running a firmware version that may not be compatible with the firmware installed on the rest of the vehicle. Just the right one. The original one. The left one from a different car is fine.
But it's still working, right? So I mean,
it's good. Like when I do the software update from Tesla, the recent one, that's when it might, you know.
Each of the fenders have these little black brackets that need to be bolted to them, and this is what the front bumper clips onto.
what's that for?
So the bumper.
Oh, I see. To mount the bumper.
But this is the right side.
Oh,
Have these guides. You
Gotta-
gotta go first.
follow the clips.
Connect your.
Connectors. There we go. Fog lights are on too now. Fog lights on this side, fog lights on that side. After you
And they
connect
all
that
should be
thing.
working.
Now the whole front bumper back installed. Woo! Right, so 3 bolts on the bumper.
There's more, but for now, 3 will do.
Okay. 6.
Now our hood's warped. We think the right strut is sitting a little bit too high, and the problem with that is to get to this right strut, we have to go underneath the wiper motor. And because of space, we have to remove the wiper motor, which is kind of fine in a way, because later we figure out that the wipers don't actually sit where they're supposed to, so they need to be adjusted anyways.
They're not just 15?
Special thread. It's a larger bolt, so it can fit into the groove of the windshield wiper. To the parts car. It's not even.
Oh, it's not even bolted down.
We also needed to find the washer fluid hose, so that we eventually found that, and we hooked it up properly. And we also had to take the black covering off, the little plastic, the hard plastic and soft plastic. We had to peel that off. It's not that hard. It kind of just sits in these slots in the groove. You pull that off. That gives you access to the wiper motors. First, you're going to need to take the wiper blades off, of course, so unbolt those. Take that black plastic covering off, And then we could bolt down the wiper motor. I don't know why it wasn't bolted down. It was so easy to do, but whatever. Once the black plastic is back on, you can also adjust the height of the wipers, which we needed to do because they were sitting up a little bit too far.
You're gonna need to put 2x4 here, 2x4 here, and then break it, and hopefully we don't, because usually that's how you fix worked stuff.
You just
break it. You just gotta. Okay.
the wiper needs to be a little bit higher, lower, right?
Higher, because lower is it's already touching the base of the.
Well, that's fine. It's in the resting position, right?
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
We got water. We got.
Small things that count.
It's the little victories you gotta be proud of. Woo. Relatively clean windshield now. Back seats have finally gone in. We were previously going to use this door panel, which was the OEM one, but I don't know what happened to it. It's all torn up and busted. So what we're going to do is go to the other one and take it from there. So the VC front is the low voltage in the front computer. We have this male end here. Oh! Dog dropped the panel. So you can see the difference in between the two plugs right here. All right, new harness. Let's see if it works.
Broken, but it'll hold. But it's the same.
And that's what we're looking for.
Before installing this foreign wiring harness, we need to plug it into the car, then plug it into the door, and then plug it into the door panel to make sure everything works how it's supposed to before we start wiring it in. Now, the clip that secures it to the connector to the VC front is broken, so what we needed to do was take a clip from the pre-existing wiring harness, put it on here. Be careful when you do this because it's super easy to break this little locking clip. Once you get it out, you can put it on no problem, lock it into place, and now it is time to test.
These clips came in the ass. All you gotta do is just put this in.
You need like a sharp pick, push it in and pull it out. It has to be with those plugs right there. Yeah, all this wiring usually tucked away. It's this stuff, but we need to swap it out with this wiring harness.
The fact that it accepted, it's good. Windows are working, so it's communicating. The only thing that we cannot test right now is the lock release because it's not connected, and we need to run this harness inside. After that, we need to take this out.
So what we're doing now is we are unbolting this black part right here. We have bolts here, here, along that side. Those need to come out so that we can get to the wiring harness to pull it out. There you go.
So we just remove these, and then all around, and always remember that it feeds into the jam, meaning towards the fender, not out, because a lot of people, they will remove and then run it this way. And every time they open and close the door,
oh shoot,
they're jamming the wires. Very important.
All right, so after unclipping that wiring harness, you gotta feed it through the door, and it's on this side. So now we can completely pull it out and replace it with the one we have over there.
And then we disconnect the lock.
Inside of here, everything that you want to unplug is this one. There's all these little tabs that you want to unclip, and then there's this last one up there. There we go. So that was the incompatible one. This one we just took out. This is the whole door wiring harness. Everything that controls your door is based off that, and it plugs into there. This plug on the other one was incompatible with what we had here because someone else tried to fix it and they didn't know how to fix it. So now we're putting the right one in. We previously tested this, so this one, it definitely works. You just gotta make sure all the connections fit properly. Boom, it passes alignment. So not only does it pass alignment, the right repeater camera also works now. Previously it was stuck on loading, and now it's here. All types of success today. And there's a lot of metal in the way of getting this wire from there to there. A lot of sharp and pinch points, so make sure you're super careful wiring this in because the insulation is basically just tape right here. You don't want to slice any of those wires, so carefully feed it all the way through into there. Make sure it is in front of the hinge. Is it called a hinge? I think it's a hinge, right? That's a hinge, yeah.
That, they call this a striker.
Oh, got you. Make sure it's in front of this, technically in front of this. Make sure it's in front of the striker. There you go. So in front of the striker, make sure the wires go into that hole, which is gonna have them go into the cabin. You're gonna make sure you feed enough slack. So the wiring has to go behind here, and then push down, all the way down, and then you can clip it into here. Gotcha, that's the wiring.
And second clip right here, that's how you know you're on the right spot. And then these are going to be clipped in from the back side.
So you see those two clips, but you won't see this one. This one has to be on the interior. And then you're gonna keep moving that up so that you can put in the connection for the door and then also for the lock. So once the wiring is threaded through here, make sure that single clip is pushed in. That'll align everything up. Start bolting in around the edges. Where'd you plug that thing into?
Oh, you slip it in, and then if you did it right, make sure you don't bend no pins with the clip inside.
So now you just put all these in. So the wiring harness goes along the interior side of the door. Everything's organized. You're gonna start putting your clips in. This one is for the mirror. This is tweeter, speaker, and all connections look pretty good. We're also gonna put the window back next. So make sure you move the weather stripping for that. Okay, so in testing the speakers, apparently this rear one doesn't work. The right rear doesn't work either. All right, so we tried exiting, locking, and entering the car. That didn't work. Now we're gonna try resetting the car, seeing if that works, because the door handle works. So that means there is power here. Hopefully that comes online once we do so. Now we're gonna try a software update because neither the two speakers work. However, both of their windows still work, which is really weird. So we're assuming it's something software related because everything is connected how it should be. So we're gonna try that and hopefully it works. So we just plugged in the window so that we can roll up the bottom part of the regulator so that we can slide the window on. The metal part right there, it's where the window needs to go. And there's that bolt hole right there. And that bolt hole needs to have a bolt through it. So we gotta find the bolt hole, and that goes through the window, and that's gonna hold it to the metal pieces. So this is what goes to the door, in which the screws go to. This is basically just two pieces of metal glued together to the glass. The bolt goes through here, and then it goes into that bolt hole. All right, so from the previous screws being too short, we now have some really long ones. Oh, those are really long.
Yeah.
Lining the window back up.
There's also the aligning of higher or lower.
Okay.
That's after we tighten everything.
Okay.
We need to make sure that it won't touch anything on its way down. How it does. We'll have to do window calibration after. For now, we can assemble somewhat insulation here. Stay nice and warm.
Now there's about 4 connections that go to the door. Make sure you plug all of those in, as well as the manual door release. You want to make sure that is plugged in as well before you put the door panel back on.
You don't need the light.
Are you sure? Don't you need the light for the window to...
Oh, see, there we go. I was just testing.
Oh, yeah. Oh.
You like that.
So our bolts were left in here because someone didn't take them out. This one needs to be removed. This one needs to be removed. This one needs to be removed. That way the door panel can go in. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to get it in. And the door panel is going to slide over on top, and then you're going to press it towards the door to secure all the clips. The speaker, see that little tab right there? It goes across like a little cross brace. It goes in between the two metal pieces, which are like this. That's gonna sit right in the middle of it. You wanna make sure you do that so you don't break it. You wanna make sure you always start from the top and then work your way down. When you're taking off the door, it's actually the opposite. You wanna pop off the bottom and then lift it up from the top. The clips aren't holding very strong, so we're just going to secure the door with the 3 bolts. This one goes right here, where the reflector part is when you open the door. You also have one right underneath the door open button, and then another one in here as well. I think so.
Sure, all doors are closed.
Speakers still don't work. We tried unplugging that and yielded nothing. So, playing around with it more, we might have to take this off because there's some connections in here that we're gonna dabble with. I don't know the right word.
Yeah.
That's cool. There you go. Not that bad.
So apparently this actually does have something to do with the speaker, and sometimes it just goes bad, so replacing it is an option. Sometimes you can unplug it and replug it back in. Sometimes that works, but that's what we tried. Yielded no results.
You need to press on the VC left itself, and then the option to reset the VC left pops up. They hit it. Yeah, it's on the car itself.
Okay, and the right. Nothing.
Music wasn't affected though.
No. That's weird. The trunk is like half open on that. Do you see that? It's open. It's just...
Oh my gosh. Oh my god.
So now we're gonna get a little bit janky and to test the sound setup, because these still don't work, what we're gonna do is test to make sure our subwoofer works. So we don't know if that guy was working. We backed this 3 up to this Y so that we could plug into this subwoofer and see if that is our issue. If that is our issue, we are going to have to just replace this. If that is not the issue, then we might have to replace the computer controlling this. We've tried absolutely everything so far. This Model Y just got fixed and now it's being ripped apart again. And the reason why we can't do it with another 3 is because we don't currently have another 3 with the premium sound system. The only way to test this is with premium sound system, because if you look in a partial premium interior, you don't have that subwoofer. Only the premiums have the subwoofer. We're hoping that since these are both premium trims, it will be a good test and there won't be any issues with this being a Model Y and this being a Model 3. And all the wires basically plug into that metal box. If we look at the Model Y, you can see they all plug into here. That's what we're trying to test right now. Taking apart the carpet and removing the bolts. So actually removing the bolts first, then moving the carpet. We have our Tesla subwoofer. Oh no, that's not good. So this is different than our Model Y.
It being a Model 3 and it being a Model X actually did matter. The 2 speakers, subwoofers, sorry, and amps were not compatible. And we were actually able to later, off camera, test the amp on a different Model 3 with premium interior, and the amp's fine, totally good. Amp and subwoofer are good. So this is kind of bad. This is not what we wanted, because that means either the infotainment processor is bad or something in the wiring harness is bad. And if it's the wiring harness, that could literally be anywhere in the car. So we got our work cut out for us. So we should have looked at this before we even took the amp out, but if you look, you see that orange light? That means the amp has power, so okay, most likely there's nothing wrong back here. The next course of action was to check the driver's side kind of footwell area where all of the connections for the VC left are in, and we found something interesting here.
You see this part right here? That's what controls that. So I have it unplugged. Now there will no longer be a light in the back of that amp that I just showed you. If you play some audio, it will only play through the tweeters when this is disconnected. This controls the rest of the speakers in your car. Now, why was the speakers not working? We tried so many different things. It took us forever. Well, the reason why it wasn't working is because look, there is corrosion on some of those pins. So there's no metal making contact with metal. And if you look on this side as well, you can see a bit of corrosion over here, specifically where those pins were. Now, I guess before we got this car, it was left open, and that's how some water got inside of here. You can see there's a bit of rusting right here. We figured this out when we were kind of disassembling everything. When we were moving it around, it started to work, and that's because there's a bit of contact from the metal pieces when we were like pushing it in, moving it around and stuff. So we gotta clean those, make sure they have a good solid contact. And so that way we have sound with the entire car. So that was the sound issue we had.
I still suggest WD-40.
Not only did we rebuild this Tesla, we also enhanced it with help from Tessery and a few other places. So use TESLAFPV pretty much anywhere, especially the links in the description below to enhance your Tesla, even if it's not a rebuild. If you want to see the individual videos, like the installs for these specific ones, like the rear screen, the swivel screen, or even us cleaning the glass, check out those videos in the description below as well. And that's it. It drives pretty good. If you want to see more Tesla rebuilds, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss any of the future ones and all the other shenanigans we get up to.